Hi, welcome to an Easy Trader Update. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 17th of October. Okay, so eventually the US government have come to an agreement in terms of raising the debt ceiling, albeit only until the 14th of February, but it's been done and the workers should be getting back to work. So hopefully we'll get some news coming out, some data releases, etc. in the near future. But until then, what have we seen? Well, interestingly, you would almost expected, well, I did expect it to continue more yesterday in terms of the a bit of rah-rah for the dollar, in terms of the dollar to go on to a bit of a rally, which in turn would have brought the euro and everything else down. Now, what we did see yesterday is we did see a sharp sell-off at one point, but as you can see, the days stayed within pretty much the normal average range that we're seeing lately. Now, obviously the resolution was agreed, and it's now the 14th of Feb, etc., and there's at least parts of agreement in place. But what we've seen, it's been sold on, effectively the dollar has been, it was being bought on the way down, or I say on the way down, on the leading up to the news event coming out. But of course people then said, well, it's going to happen, they're not going to let it go, and we've seen this sort of hesitation all the time over the last month or so, in terms of the, well, overall here, pull it out a bit further, well over a month now, in terms of the deadline rising, and everything should have been sorted, and the dollar hasn't really been sold off particularly. So the expectation, if you like, for the dollar wasn't, I mean, if the dollar had been sold off and we'd seen the euro going through the ceiling, then perhaps we may have seen a counter reaction when the news came out. But what we saw here was the dollar just held. Okay, resolutions made, and now, as I say, they sell on the news, and the news has come out, and the dollar was sold off, and the euros started to rally. It went nicely from 8 o'clock this morning, actually. So the question is, I guess, where to and how long? Well, goodness, how long? We don't have a crystal ball here, but certainly if we end up on something of a pattern like this, what we have done is we've broken out of the flag, or the descending channel that was sitting down here. We're still in this bigger move upward. We've got some resistance coming up very shortly on this prior high here, and there's another point of resistance just above, or around about the 37 area, 137, which is a prior high above that. So it could break this level here. Of course, there'll be stops piled up here, buy stops for the shorters out there, which we're expecting it to run down. So that could trigger a wave of continued buying, and that could run us into that 137 area. Now, of course, it could go well beyond that. There's nothing really, there's not a lot of resistance beyond these levels, particularly when you come out. You've got all the key moving averages below us. So the one thing to bear in mind is at some point we could get quite extended. And oops, wrong one, that's here. But we're not in any signs of overbought. One thing we could also do is, if we run up into those even to the prior highs here, we could end up with some divergence on it, so continued divergence. So things to watch out for. But before we may have to pop before we get the drop. There is the drop potential at some point of the monthly pivot, but at this stage you've got to remain bullish with what we're seeing here. A daily pivot swing, could see it push up higher as well. So there's plenty of good content to get a bit of continuation. One thing to bear in mind, if we end up with this day going up and pushing up a bit higher, perhaps into yesterday's highs, the earlier the month highs, it may get a bit of a pullback. And tomorrow, if we get a big bar, we could end up with a smaller inside bar. It wouldn't be unexpected. There's no key news at the moment being released tomorrow, unless of course they start rolling out some of the backlog of news events that have been held up whilst government's been closed. Okay, so in summary, still remain bullish on this in terms of its flag, and they're the key sort of areas in the short term where we may get some key resistance. Let's have a quick look at a cable. Cable's suffered a little bit more in terms of its consolidation here. Yesterday it ended up putting this spinning top candle in. There was a moment I forgot what it was called. Hammer spinning tops. A lot of indecision leading up to that, which really the picture of the markets. Now, I mean, it's held up on this 34 moving average. Again, if it can manage to close up a bit more and get back within this previous trend range, we could see it run back towards the highs as well. Maybe the weaker of the two from that respect. It didn't have quite as sharp a sell-off, but at the same time it's struggling a little bit, although there's still good news coming out UK wise. We had retail sales come above expectation. The jobs report yesterday was above expectation, so there's still good news coming out there, so should hold the pound up, but it's just not rallied off quite to the same extent to get towards the prior highs so quickly. But certainly, again, there's the white line is the weekly. I say the weekly. It's the further highs that we may have run into in here, but it stops a bit early. So they're the two areas I'll be looking for some resistance. Now, of course, it could roll over from where it is. It's just testing this lower trend line here. It could roll over here. If tomorrow we get the inside bar that sits in here, and then it can start breaking down. Well, my view, perhaps into the early next week, will be if we break out these lows here, well, we're probably moving into more of an A, B, C wave structure, and we'll get a sell-off. So really looking ahead here, if we can hold up to this today and push up a little bit further tomorrow, next week I'll still be looking towards these prior highs and the prior highs as sort of targets. Of course, if the euro dips in and starts selling off strongly, it could just take cable with it. They could run back down together. Okay, that's those two. Let's quick look then at the yen. It'd be good if I click on the right button. So the dollar yen. Really in this big expanding triangle pattern here, generally they go in the direction of the bigger move, and the bigger move could still be argued to the downside, so maybe we'll get some more strengthening and a push towards and a continuation, maybe back towards again the prior lows here. And we've got the line on here, whoops, come off there. These prior lows here and here could run down to these levels. I'd be surprised if it gets as far as all the way down here, but there is a possibility of a bit more strengthening, but more likely we could just see a double bottom to the early month lows, and then maybe that may hold, or if not, and that's where the stops are likely to be for the longs here, dollar longs. If not, that could run back down to these prior lows here. So at the moment, I mean, the yen has been such a, I mean, it sort of gets into quite long ranges for quite long periods, and it sort of sits within a certain range, and you just get a break, a little bit of a move, and then consolidation again. Hopefully, we're going to get a bit of a move and be able to trade this down some. Okay, that's it for me. Hope you have a great week. Kevin will be back tomorrow, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye for now.